David accidentally bumped into the truck in front of him. He should have apologized for what happened, but Nadja told him to just go. The owner didn't see it anyway. David also thought the owner wouldn't see the scratch, so he quietly fled the scene. They were truly made for each other. David and Nadja went out this time to go to the north to see the aurora. Then they arrived at a small hotel. Unexpectedly, the landlady gave them eyes of detest when she saw them. It was like she was suppressing anger. David suddenly found out the owner of the car that was hit in the morning was also here. A man with long hair sat next to him, but they didn't know this would be their last good night. Going out of the hotel, they didn't expect to be retribution. When David was ready to drive away, they found that their car had also been scratched. There were also naughty texts left on the car as a bonus. They thought it was the two brothers who did it. Nadja, who felt insulted and humiliated, complaining about it all the way. But the earth was really small. When they passed a convenience store, they found the car of the two brothers parking there. Nadja picked up a screwdriver and went over, scratching over from the back door to the front. But she was caught on the spot. Nadja immediately turned around and ran into the car. The two of them drove away immediately. Jarmo came out, stroking his dog. He looked at the car and wondered why these people wanted to pick on him. It was really inexplicable. Nadja thought it was fair to get back to the brothers. She didn't think there was anything wrong with what she'd done. It was much better to think about it like this. The final destination was here. A tent was set up on an open snowfield. They took a picture together. Nadja was very happy and told David about her pregnancy. They didn't have fun yet. Suddenly, a loud cry came from outside the tent. That was a wolf cry from a person. They thought someone was making trouble and ignored them. Then a little red dot appeared on the tent. They walked out of the tent. The red dot moved on their chests again. They suddenly became nervous because they understood that only the sniper sight could shoot those red dots. Knowing that they were in a bad situation, the two immediately ran away. Unexpectedly, his dog rushed out. It felt the source of danger, wanting to help the master out of trouble. Not long after that, the gunshot came with the dog's howl. It was a pity that a good dog was owned by such bad masters. The two were paralyzed. The man hiding in the dark was not for fun. The light bulb was shot. They got out of the tent and ran to the other side. Then a flare suddenly appeared in the sky. A couple was camping. A red dot appeared on the tent. Then the bulb was shot. They hurried to hide away in the dark. But a flare swept the sky. In an instant, their figures were illuminated. The gunfire covered every corner of the area, but they were not injured. The shooter seemed to have another plan. The flare was about to be shot to the sky. Then another one appeared. David and Nadja ran into the woods. There were two people on the other side. At this time, Nadja, who was pregnant, suddenly felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. It was an emergency. David took Nadja to squat on the grass. Nadja doubted it was Jarmo and Roll who came to avenge. As the footsteps came closer and closer, David hurriedly took Nadja to hide in a small house. It was dawn when they woke up. Their faces were covered with ice slag. If they didn't warm up right away, they could die on the spot. They returned to the tent. The scene inside was shocking. Their dog had been killed. For their safety, David told Nadja to stay outside of the tent. Don't go anywhere. Nadja couldn't do anything else rather than lying down on the ground. David went to the tent looking for the car keys. However, he touched and triggered the clip. Hearing the cry, Nadja quickly ran over. This clip was not simple. It took Nadja 10 hours to open it. David's arm was caught in the clip, bleeding out uncontrollably. Was this the consequence of scratching a car? A bullet burst through the air. David calculated the time interval of intermediate ammunition change was 10 seconds. They could use these 10 seconds to escape. The next bullet came. They quickly ran away. Unfortunately, David was shot. Though it wasn't a fatal shot, Nadja didn't turn back to save him. The wind and snow nearby made her vision blurred. She crawled on the ground to observe. She was on the other side shouting for him. Turned out, she was on the thin ice. David also shouted out for her. The two were separated, but they were not far away from each other. Nadja told him to pay attention under his feet. But David couldn't hear her. Until they met each other, David had fallen into the hole. Nadja was late to inform him. She put her bare hand into the water. When she was in despair, David rushed out with all his strength. At that time, they had been exhausted. Finally, they saw a rescuer. But when taking a closer look, it was Jarmo, one of the two brothers. They slipped into a cave. The atmosphere solidifies instantaneously. Looking back, a bear was hibernating. Jarmo also looked at the tracking. The couple was put into continuous challenges. At this time, Nadja took a flare out of nowhere. She threw it at Jarmo, making him fall to the ground. The two quickly fled. After a morning's rush, they finally found a family. Their only hope was not far away. But David had an illusion. A boy wearing a yellow jacket stood beneath the tree and disappeared in an instant. They didn't respond yet. Someone slowly approached them. A man with a hunting gun appeared in front of them. Nadja retreated in fear. Jarmo seemed to find the people who needed help before. Then David appeared and hit him with a stone. Then the three came to a family not far away. But something strange happened. The room was full of photos of the two of them. They were stalked for a long time. Turned out, they had followers all the time. A chill spread all over their bodies. Then a man grabbed a sniper gun and entered the room. Fixing him an eye. How could it be their neighbor, Ina? Why was he here? Eventually, he revealed the truth. The boy wearing a yellow jacket in David's illusion was Ina's son. A year ago, on the way home, David and Nadja ran over a boy in yellow because of distraction. They didn't choose to call the police. Instead, they left the boy bleeding to death. Ina was playing with his son that day. In the camera, Ina saw his son was run over by two strangers with his own eyes. He called the police to provide video footage. Even if they caught David and Nadja, they would only be imprisoned for a few years. It was too humane for them. So he tried to make friends with them. He knew every detail about them like the back of his hand, waiting for the right time to give David tickets for his Arctic trip. Everything was carefully planned. Now he wanted him to understand what it was like to lose someone they loved. David and Nadja now realized that they were wrong. The chasing red dots before were all caused by Ina, not by the two brothers. Thinking about the rescuer they met before, they realized they killed a good person by mistake. They just assumed everyone they met was bad. If they had accepted help at that time, they would not have reached this stage. What a coincidence. Jarmo, who didn't die yet, came after them. He wanted justice. He came in and tackled Ina to the ground. The scene was a mess. David and his wife took the opportunity to run out. But David was bleeding too much to run away. He told Nadja to run away and leave him alone. He didn't expect Nadja to really run away. She didn't turn once. They were really made for each other. When the trouble came, they just thought for themselves. At this time, Ina had solved the problem with Jarmo and come out. He aimed his gun at David. When he was about to shoot, Nadja came back. She pointed the shotgun at Ina. The two began to confront each other. Suddenly, a gunshot was heard. Nadja was shot in the head and died. Turned out, the landlady of the hotel was Ina's wife. That was why they looked at them with detest when they came to the hotel. Nadja had died. Now, there was only David. Ina didn't kill him, but let him go. His purpose had been achieved. He let David know the pain of losing his beloved. He thought that David would live a living hell in the future. What goes around comes around. This is a film in which cause and effect are deeply connected to each other. David was a man of no responsibility, no courage, no virtue and incompetence. He was described as a coward. Now he was left miserable, regretting his sin, but he still had to continue. That's all for today. I'm Harry. I'll see you next time.